if given the right situation. I think they did a good job of building that right situation with the moves that they made defensively, bolstering what has been the Achilles heel, the real Lils on the mic of this team, which is a defensive side of the ball.
The most polarizing, fascinating, interesting debate show is live in the huddle.
Yes, ladies and gents, my favorite topic is here on the agenda right up here. I mean, this has been a wild offseason, to put it into context, talking about the NFL in more particular terms, the offseason there. I mean, we've seen a lot of trades. We've seen the draft. That was the best draft that I could remember. It was a loaded offseason that's still giving us headlines today on this show known as In the Huddle. But to really put a bow on these offseason conversations as far as movement is concerned and teams getting better or teams possibly getting worse, we want to rank our most improved NFL teams this offseason. We're going to give 3. And our not so most improved NFL teams this offseason. So who are the teams that improved the most and who was the teams that regressed the most? Without further ado, we're going to start off with the most improved teams. And Zach, you can start it off.
Okay, so am I going, should I go in order, or are we making a list, or, because I don't really have an order. I just had 3 teams that came to mind right away, and here we go. Number 1, man, and you're going to be happy about this one, but I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. Like, I don't think there was a team that got a more impactful decision this offseason than Tom Brady coming out of retirement and saving the Buccaneers franchise. And just by that decision alone, like, the Buccaneers are obviously going to be one of, if not the favorite, to come out of the NFC and win the Super Bowl this year. They obviously get Chris Godwin back. That's huge. Injury last year, tough one, but I think he's so good. He will be back on the field, ready to make an impact. The Russell Gage edition is big time as well. And I know they lose Bruce Arians, obviously a Super Bowl winning head coach, but Todd Bowles, his second time around, it's not like he's not familiar with the Tampa Bay program. Him and Brady, Byron Leftwich is still there. They're on the same page. And once again, like, we were literally doing segments on the show, like, what are the Buccaneers going to look like if they go with Blaine Gabbert next season and they have Tom Brady back? So I don't think there was a more impactful decision than that, than the Buccaneers getting TB12, the GOAT, back. So that was my first big offseason winner, Tampa Bay. Keep going, or we going back and forth? Okay, my second team, the Eagles. And obviously they made the big impact move of the draft, bringing in A.J. Brown. And it's interesting, Lil, because I know not so long ago we had a very interesting debate on Deebo Samuel, and I expressed a little concerns about paying him long-term because he is kind of signaling to me that he doesn't really want to do what he did best in San Francisco anymore, being that shifty runner, obviously catching the ball a little bit as well. But I have no doubts about A.J. Brown. I think this guy is a freak talent. I think he's a freak athlete. I think he is going to be, if not already, a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. And Jalen Hurts, he's not the best passer, but the only way you're going to find out about him is if you just surround him with the most talent as possible. And their defense is much better too. They draft Jordan Davis from Georgia, even get Nakobe Dean in the 3rd round. And one of the more impactful, under the radar free agent signings, bringing in Hassan Reddick from Carolina. He's going to be an impact pass rusher for Philadelphia. He's familiar, a Temple kid with that area. So I think the Eagles are another big winner of the offseason. And number 3 was the Cincinnati Bengals. And this is a team that obviously was a couple minutes away, a couple plays away from winning the Super Bowl last year. And we all know what their weakness was, right? It was their offensive line. Joe Burrow was just getting manhandled game after game after game. They bring in Lyle Collins from Dallas. They bring in your guy from Tampa Bay, Alex Kappa. Those are 2 big-time players on the offensive line. Burrow, he can be protected. Find Jamar Chase, Mixon, obviously a very good running back. Their defense it's good, man. It's got some guys, Logan Wilson, that can make some plays. Hopefully Eli Apple isn't in as big a role this year as he was last year. But man, Joe Burrow, he got the Bengals to the Super Bowl last year with that offensive line, with an improved line. I'm excited to see what his future holds. So my 3 main winners: Buccaneers, Eagles, Bengals.
I like the teams. You know, I'm appreciative. You know, I like the fact that we don't have the same 3 teams. That's always a good thing. I start with my team, and I actually have mine in order. I don't really need to have it in order, but I would say one of my teams, you know, that I have here is a team that I talked about highly of, in the last show that we did, and that show was also doing pretty good numbers as well. And that was my take on this team, that I said this team, even though they are dysfunctional and they've been dysfunctional for 40 years, I see the light under the tunnel for 5 years from now, them being the face of the NFC North. And that will be the Detroit Lions, and when I reflect back on some of the moves that they made as I was preparing for this, I said to myself, wait, hold up. 5 years may be a bit of a stretch. That's where jobs is on the line in 5 years. 5 years? What are you talking about 5 years? What are you talking about, Willis? What are you talking about, Willis? Nah, make that 2 to 3 years. I like the Lions. Listen, one of the moves that I actually found out that they made last night, it went completely under the radar, and I brought it to your attention, was the addition of DJ Chalk. Some people don't even know who that is. And when you play for Jacksonville, not a lot of people is going to know who that is. But that's a receiver that I like, a big play threat guy that you can put there on the boundaries to make a play vertically. They got him off the clearance rack, a big bargain off the clearance rack. We're talking about 1 year, $10 million prove-it deal. So high rewards, low risk right there. That's a low risk play. I think that play will come with some value. When you look at their draft class, which basically does it for me, is their draft class. Jameson Williams, another guy that, although he's not going to play the first couple games, probably the first month, he's probably going to play in October. At least we know in October more so he will be able to play. Now you got yourself a nice looking receiving core with DJ Chalk, Jameson Williams. You still got Amon St. Brown. You also got this other dude that I cannot remember this dude's name for Dilly Squad. But there's another dude that was actually putting in some work. And this team, when you reflect on the Lions season last year, they played really, really hard. And they lost a lot of close games last year. And I didn't realize how hard they played. But they played really hard. And I think some of those games that they lost will turn into W slowly but surely in that process of 2 to 3 years. So Aiden Hutchinson, that's another guy. We want to go defense. I know I'm looking at offense here totally, but defensively, I think they're getting better. I like the Lions. I think they improved the most, and they may be reflective in a postseason visit. We'll have to see. Another team that I'm going to throw at you will be the Dolphins. I like the Dolphins here. I think they got tremendously better in the AFC East. When you talk about the additions, for example, this was a team that stacked their offense to make sure that Tua, even if he's not good, we won't know he's not good because guys will be doing the work. When you talk about the additions, they just added Sony Michel to a loaded running backs group that they brought in. When you talk about
crazy list, bro. I checked it out. Like, there are a lot of names.
Raheem Mostert, Chase Edmonds, Sony Michel. Philip Lindsay, they got running backs for days. So even if a guy get hurt, because the running backs, bro, I don't know if you noticed.
Ahmed, yeah, they got some guys.
I don't know if you noticed, but the running backs, it's hard to sustain 17, now 18, now 17 games of the schedule, especially if you're in fantasy. The running backs go down, and to have that depth, I think it's going to go well for them. Also, when you talk about the additions at wide receiver, I like Cedric Wilson. That was always a guy that I highly endorsed, even before he got the playing time due to certain injuries last year for the Cowboys. I always like that dude. I always think he is a big play dude. He made a couple big plays in the fourth quarter at various points in the game, most notably New England, where it was like a 3rd and 28 and he caught the ball. I think he's a fast wide receiver. Also, the biggest addition of them all in Tyreek Hill. The guy is a speedster, and he changed your offense entirely because of all the attention that is shown on to him. And you cap that with the pick that I like out of the coaches. My number one play was Mike McDaniels, a guy that is an X's and O's king. And I think we're going to see that on full display. And I think when you look at this offense and how it's built, you're going to see less of Tua and a lot of the stars. It's going to be run the ball, play action, get the ball, jet sweeps, high misdirections, and, probably wildcat. You're going to see a lot of things that probably doesn't involve Tua making a big play down the field because they probably just not going to make the play. They don't need to make the play. Get 60 yards with Tyreek Hill out of the backfield easily. So I like the Dolphins. I really think they up their play and possibly, arguably, probably could be the team to beat in that division. My last team that I'm going to throw here is, this is tough. My last team, the Chargers. It's not tough. It's the Chargers. Listen, I think the Chargers got better defensively. You know, one of the things that the Chargers is doing, and I peeped it, is they realize that Justin Herbert is about to become really, really, really expensive. I mean, you think about he's on his third year. He's a year away from being eligible for a big lucrative contract that he's going to get. And we talked about Deshaun Watson and that fully guaranteed money. So Justin Herbert is probably going to get more money than Deshaun Watson, especially because he's a high character guy that can throw the hell out of a daggone football and can make all the throws and has been one of the best quarterbacks in the league in third and fourth downs. Literally, a lot of people don't talk about this guy had the best first 2 seasons of any quarterback in the NFL history. Like literally, like it's crazy and it's unfortunate because there hasn't been a lot of winning to show that on full display. Well, guess what? I think they're going to be a lot of winning to show Justin Herbert's full capabilities and how, you know, even though he gets the love, he's still underestimated for who he truly is, which is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL if given the right situation. I think they did a good job of building that right situation with the moves that they made defensively, bolstering what has been the Achilles heel, the real Leels on the mic of this team, which is a defensive side of the ball. That running game was shot. The secondary needed work. Well, guess what? They got that with moves of J.C. Jackson, the best guy on a free agent market from a cornerback perspective. They got that guy. They got Calvin Noy recently, a guy that everywhere he left, their team hasn't been the same on that side of the ball, according to him. And I guess that means it bodes well for the Chargers. You got Calvin Noy. You also got Khalil Mack, who still can make an impact and have his fingerprints on a game to go alongside Joey Bosa. So because they're so good defensively, offensively, I'm not worried. They're going to put up 30, 40, but can you stop somebody? And if Brandon Staley continues to play the game of analytics, well, now you got yourself a defense that can possibly bail him out of a couple situations. And one thing, and I end here, one thing that really impressed me, despite the analytics and everybody coming at him for the analytics, they made a hell of a lot of fourth downs in that game against the Raiders. They're a very great fourth down team. I think they take a little bit too much, but they can make them. And if they got the defense now that can bail them out of some of those, then hey, go for it, brother. There we go. Those are my 3 teams: the Dolphins, the Chargers, and the Lions. And I ain't lying.
Yeah. I actually, when I look at the Chargers and the Dolphins, like, it's easy for me to compare those teams, not only just because their 2 quarterbacks were drafted very closely in the same draft, but both of these teams have a lot of talent, no doubt about that. But also, like, they have coaches that haven't won anything yet and haven't proven to win in the NFL. And Brandon Staley, like, he might be able to change my mind on this, but man, like, Justin Herbert was so good last year. I agree. He was a top 3, top 4 quarterback in the NFL. I still don't know how they made the playoffs. I still don't know how their defense was that bad that they missed the playoffs. And that Raider game, like, yeah, they got a bunch of fourth downs, but that was all Justin Herbert. Like, that, I can tell you right now, that had nothing to do with Brandon Staley, them converting these 4th and 17s, scoring touchdowns when their life depended on it. Like, that was Herbert just bailing them out. And I do think, like, there is a lot of talent here, and Herbert is legit. Like, the Chargers should be a playoff team, no doubt. But, like, man, like, I'm getting some, like, Dream Team Eagle vibes with this Charger team. Like, Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, like, you know, Namni Asamoah, all those guys, Michael Vick, Vince Young. Like, I don't know. It's interesting. We'll see what happens with the Chargers in Miami too, man. Like, the Kyle Shanahan tree. It's really the first guy, along with Salah with New York. We'll see how that works out. Ironically enough, both in the AFC East. But Mike McDaniel, he's Shanahan's guy. It's gonna be interesting to see one of his disciples go to work.
I would say this about the Chargers. You know, look, when you talk about Brandon Staley and all the flack he gets, I think the guy should run for president. I think he'll serve better in politics. I mean, you talk about a guy that introduces all the journalists, you know, by their names, first and last names. I think the guy will make for a great politician. But I think also when you look at it, he sells a lot of dreams. That comes with the territory. He's a great talker. Guys want to play for him. You know, Calvin Noy's like it's a match made in heaven. These guys want to play for Brandon Staley. You know, guys are going over there to play for Brandon Staley. Guys never came out and talked, you know, below him. You know, they always, even the wide receivers on this team, even when they lost, they always had his back. They rallied behind this dude. And I think they need to start playing for this dude. You know, if he's going to put the trust in you to go for it on 4th downs, then convert the damn 4th downs. Like, you can say, he shouldn't be calling it. Okay, I agree. It was a little bit too excessive for me, you know.
4th and 1 in your own territory.
It was from your own 20. But if the coach is willing to put the faith in you to go for it, prove him right. Don't have him out here looking silly in the media. At the end of the day, these players go out there on the football field and they compete. They're the ones that make these plays. You got to make the plays. I seen them do it against the Raiders like 5 times, 4th and 10s. And I'm like, yo, why didn't y'all do this against Kansas City? You know what I'm saying? So they have to make the plays if the coach is going to continue to have more faith in them. So, yeah, I think the Chargers, even if they don't make the playoffs, I think they do. But even if they don't, I think they got better on paper.
Yeah, I mean, they better make the playoffs, bro. Like, look at this team. Like, come on. Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, they have an elite quarterback. Like, bro, like, they better make the playoffs because if they don't, like, I don't think Brandon Staley's going to be there much longer. You know, he could be a great talker and the players could love him, but, man, like, my concern with him has also been, like, he's been in the NFL for, like, 7 years. Like, that's not – he doesn't have much NFL experience. Like, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, these guys have been in an NFL locker room since they were 23 years old, and the players might love playing for him, but, like, we don't know if that necessarily translates to winning. And once again, like, the Chargers should have been like, the Texans blew them out in a must-win game last year. Like, what? That can't happen. And the Raider game, too. Like, the Chargers should have won that game, bro. Like, the Raiders, that team to an interim head coach, you couldn't beat them? Like, unacceptable. You better make the playoffs this year.
I think to respond to the Dolphins take, and I say for the Dolphins, it just comes down to Tua. I think they put everything, like literally nobody has had a better offseason from a quarterback perspective. And there's arguable names that you could throw out there, but nobody than Tua. Tua got everything needed for him to succeed. If they don't succeed, it's not because they didn't get better. It's because Tua didn't get better. And that's just what it is. So, Zach, before we close, do you have one honorable mention for either side? Just one for either way you want to go.
Yeah, like, I don't know if you'd consider this an honorable mention, but one team I highly considered putting on my winners list was Denver. And I think it's an interesting debate because, like, just for the reason that they get Russell Wilson, and that's a huge improvement from the quarterback position when it comes to what they've had over the last couple of years. But I am starting to look at it, Will. Like, I think the Broncos could be one of the more fascinating teams in the NFL going into next season because this is another team that all of the talent is there. But I think if you look deeper and deeper into the situation, like, they also have a lot of question marks. Number one, they're currently in the process of being sold. They're going for a lot of money, a new ownership in transition. If Jeff Bezos buys the team for $1 billion, like, there's going to be some pressure on Nathaniel Hackett right away to win games. And we don't even know what this guy is as a head coach yet. Honestly, like, I don't even know what Russell Wilson is as a quarterback. Like, that injury, like, very concerning. And I understand, like, it was one of the first times in his career he's really ever gotten hurt. But last year when Russ came back, man, like, he kind of looked like a quarterback that lost a step. Maybe in a new situation, that will change, but I'm not 100% sure that happens. I don't know, man. Like, Denver, John Elway, since he's been running things, it hasn't worked out. They should be a team automatically on this list, but I have my doubts.
I'm going to stay in that division of the AFC West for honorable mention to be a winner here and go to Raiders. You know, I start off with responding to the Denver take. You know, I think Russell Wilson, and I've been high on Denver for like 2 years now, but Denver, Russell Wilson, I think lost a step. I think that's clear to me. Let's see if he gets that new scenery revival over there, and I just don't know what to expect from the coach. But when we look at the Raiders, one tandem that I was debating in my head about the quarterback and former, relationship in college is the big one, Devontae Adams and Derrick Carr. I think that's going to be allying or shadowing, or should I say mirroring, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow. I think we can see some of those same level impacts. You know, I think Derek Carr could probably touch 5,000 this year. I really think this is going to be a big move. That Stephon Diggs to the Bills type of move to just take another level with that trade being the biggest impactful trade of them all. I think this is the biggest impactful trade of them all, and that's why I got them here. I think Devontae Adams does a lot even without the ball, just drawing that attention, opening up Hunter Renfrow in the slot and Darren Waller that you can't double team no more. I honestly think the Raiders are in play for the playoffs. They were last year, so that's not a stretch. Should I say I think they're in play for the division. Let's go the extra mile. I like the Raiders. They were close, very close to making my list.
I agree 100%. Devontae Adams is the best wide receiver in football. Derek Carr, he's a winner at quarterback. And I think it's interesting, like the Raiders have drafted so weird. In the first round, they miss on all of these guys, but then in the middle rounds, they hit on Max Crosby, they hit on Hunter Renfrow, and all of a sudden, like, even though it's a little bit unconventional, they still have impact players. And Josh McDaniels, he does have experience as a head coach. That's not something you could say about any other or every other first-year head coach in a new situation this year. So I agree with you. I'm high on the Raiders, and I think they're another intriguing team, just like the whole AFC West, man. That division, can't wait.
And that's just what it is. So, Zach, I guess I started off with the losers since you did the winners. I go ahead with one of my losers here as I put up the list. I got I got the Bears. Let's start off with the Bears, please. Oh, God.